That's my motto. Live, laugh, love.
Yeah, live, laugh, love. There's your cold open.
Probably not.
Hard to think of anything that is less your motto, honestly. Live, laugh, love. I guess you like to laugh.
I do. I do. Laughter is the best medicine.
I feel like live, laugh, love. I think that it inherent in it is like this implication of like, positive easygoingness kind of in the laughter. And your laughter is more blithe.
Yeah.
And a little more cynical. It's not really live, laugh, love type laughter. All right. Well, good afternoon, De Niro Nation, and welcome to Our Hero De Niro. I am Mike, joined as ever by my co-host, Mike.
What a pleasure to be here today.
What a pleasure to be here. We are here today to discuss David O. Russell's 2015 film, Joy, starring Robert De Niro. And what a film it is. I will say he is in it a lot. So yeah, it's nice that we've, in the past few weeks, we have gotten some films, say what you will about them, that are actually Robert De Niro films. Like he is easily the second most important person in this film, besides
right. When you just say starring Robert De Niro, I think you're setting up, you're implying that he's the star of the film, and he's really not. This is very much a Jennifer Lawrence film, and he's along for the ride.
I just do that as a joke.
I know you do, but I don't want to disappoint.
Don't you also do it? Don't you also say starring Robert De Niro?
No, you've complained about this to me before on air.
I think it's pretty funny because it's implied by the subject of the podcast. It doesn't even need to be said. We wouldn't be talking about the movie if it wasn't starring Robert De Niro. And also, to your point, he will only be the star of at most 25% of the films we watch for this podcast.
Oh, it's sad but true.
Really think about, like, it would be funny. I think, we've talked a little bit about, what we want to do as like a retrospective when we get to like episode 20 or episode 25 or whatever. And I think something that would be interesting to do as a retrospective, we wouldn't be able to calculate it, obviously, but I would love to go back and like add up the total runtime of all the films we've watched and then just kind of ballpark like how much screen time Robert De Niro had in those films. I betcha when we get like a quarter of the way through this thing, only like 10% of the movie time we're going to have spent watching will actually have had Robert De Niro on screen. Like, it's like amazing how little a part of the films we've watched so far for this podcast he's been, in spite of what this podcast is ostensibly about. It's pretty amazing.
I think that's great feedback for our upcoming 20th episode spectacular, as long as we remember to do something like that.
Yeah, I don't see how we could possibly forget. But anyway, yeah, here we are. This is a David O. Russell movie, and, I think of myself as liking David O. Russell because I love I Heart Huckabees so much. But, I was thinking, like, I don't think I really do like David O. Russell because, spoiler alert, I don't really like this movie. And, we're going to watch Silver Linings Playbook soon for this podcast, whenever we roll it, and I didn't like that movie. And I didn't really like American Hustle. And I don't know, I don't think I like David O. Russell.
Yeah, neither do I. I don't really like his films. I haven't seen many of them, but he has a style that I don't typically like. I think I don't really remember I Heart Huckabees because I haven't seen it since college, undergrad, but I did watch Three Kings recently, and I think that is probably his film that I like the most.
I've never seen that.
Joy, I think we're going to end up feeling pretty similar about. Do you want to just dive into it?
Yeah, let's get right into it. I found my experience watching this movie, just as a frame for this, fascinating, by the way, because I gave it from memory 2.5 stars.
Oh, that's right. You've seen it before.
When I saw it the first time. And I said to Caroline, maybe 15 minutes into the movie or 20 minutes into the movie, she walked into the room, and I said, babe, I don't know if I've really seen this movie because like I'm really enjoying this, but I know that whatever I had seen that I rated in memory on Letterboxd, I really didn't like very much. So like I don't know what's going on here. And it turns out that just like that's the way my memory works. And I really hate the last 30 minutes. So like I think I kind of do like the first like 2 acts of the movie, and then it really falls apart for me in the final portion. I think there's a lot of things that happen from a plot perspective, from like a theme perspective, that seem like they're setting something up, and none of it really comes together. And at the end, it's like, why did I watch this? Like, what was the point of this story? It's really fascinating. It's really a fascinating piece of art. Let's,
I don't know why you watched it the first time, but you're watching it now because you have to for this podcast.
I mean, I watched it the first time because I thought I liked David O. Russell.
Oh, okay.
And because I had a huge crush on Jennifer Lawrence at the time. And
Oh, sure.
who didn't?
The whole nation did.
Yeah, we were all enamored of Jennifer Lawrence, old J-Law, 10 years ago. So anyway, here we go. So
you're turning away from your microphone. You're doing that thing.
You know what? Why don't you keep it to yourself? Okay?
Why don't you just not turn your head?
What do you mean? Because I'm talking. I think we need to learn to do it where it matters less. Like we need to find a way.
You need to learn
set up the hardware
to keep your head straight. What are you, a bobblehead?
What I do. What are you talking about?
Oh my God, it's not what you do. It needs to be what you do when you're like recording an audio show.
It's just not.
It does matter.
It's just not going to happen. I'm not saying it doesn't matter. I believe you that it matters.
Make it happen. You need
I
to
am
make
telling
it
you
happen.
that it is not going to happen. We are trying to create like relatively organic, relatively naturalistic conversation right now. And like, I don't know what to tell you, man. When I talk, I do not face straight forward and not move my head. Like it just isn't the way I move my body.
It's not difficult.
It's not difficult. I have talked in my life for tens of thousands of hours, and never at any point in my life have I ever held my face forward like this. I'm not going to learn to. I'm 37 years old.
I can just imagine the listening audience imagining you just like as some sort of human bobblehead whose neck muscles are so weak, like an infant's, that you're incapable of facing your microphone when you talk. You like need to be able to do that. I don't know like how you could possibly think it's okay to turn away from the thing you're supposed to be talking into.
We're gonna have to change the way this is happening. Okay, but
there's
anyway,
nothing to change.
The movie starts.
Do you understand how like microphones work?
There has to be a way to set this up so that I could be talking from like this far away.
You just put it in front of your fucking mouth. You're looking at me. I'm a fixed point.
If I turned like this, it like wouldn't matter as much. But since it depends on it being, 3 to 5 inches away from my mouth, like it is right now, like it matters a lot when I turn my head.
Let's get through this fucking movie.
So anyway, the movie starts and it's an Annapurna movie, which I found really interesting. That's a video game studio, or publisher, I guess. But anyway, there you go.
I think they started as a film production company.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. Did they really?
Yeah.
I can't think of a single film that they've made. Can you?
I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I think they're like an indie movie producer. Yeah, I think that came way later. I think it's like some rich person's kids company. Don't quote me on that.
It's cute. Yep. So anyway, that's who the distributor is. And so it starts, and it's Joy, right? So this movie is about Joy. She's played by Jennifer Lawrence, but it starts with a flashback to her as a child. And her dad is Robert De Niro. So we see Robert De Niro very, very early in the film. Do you want to say when it was?
I had it down at 7 minutes and 31 seconds.
So maybe she just talks about him then in that opening. I couldn't remember exactly when he first popped up. But we do see him early. So anyway, she's explaining, she's a kid and her dad runs a garage and she has like her family and her friends and she likes to do things with her hands. And she's got a grandma, and her grandma is like a really strong, like tough woman who like wants to teach her to be self-sufficient. And her mom like sucks ass. She's like a really weak person who just like lays in bed and watches TV all day. And so we're done with the flashback to her as a child. So now she's grown up and she's Jennifer Lawrence, and her mom still sucks a huge amount of ass. And all she does is watch TV, and it's not even like good TV. It's bad TV. Oh, I did write it down. I wrote 7:30. De Niro cited at 7:30, close enough to when you said. So he is very early in the film, and he plays Rudy, Joy's father, and her parents are divorced. She's got a weird life. It seems like everybody lives in her house. Like she's got like her mom living there.
So quirky.
Her grandma, her kids live with her. Her ex-husband lives in the basement. And then one of the inciting incidents for the story of the film is her dad, Rudy, Robert De Niro, gets divorced from his third wife. And so now he moves back in with her. And so like her entire family is living in her house. And I wrote, her life seems like it sucks, but at least she has a positive attitude. And
the power of positivity. Live, laugh, love.
No, I think like so little about this film works like when it's all said and done. But I do find the character of Joy really compelling, and I think Jennifer Lawrence's performance is amazing. So like at least there's that. I think that she's a very relatable character. I think we'd all like to think that we're kind of like her. like scrappy, like resourceful, like I said, her life blows, but like she seems like she's still happy. She has like a very rosy outlook in spite of having like a totally shitty life at the beginning, and that's really nice. I really like her. So she's got a job. She is a gate agent for an airline. What are you laughing at?
I'm just looking at you like swiveling a little bit back and forth in your chair, and I don't think it's enough to affect the audio, but it does make me want to just like strap you down, Clockwork Orange style, just so you can record this.
You know what I'm really excited about? I'm really excited that I'm going out of town next week because we're going to take a week off from this. Anyway, so she's got a job. She works as a gate agent for an airline, and she's at her shift, and she gets reassigned to the night shift, which doesn't matter to the plot, but I think it's just said to convey to the viewer that like her job also sucks. Like everything about her life sucks. So she goes to her dad's shop, and like this is where we first see hers and Rudy's relationship, and it's so confusing to me. Like I don't understand. Like, do you two feel like this is like a nonsensical like father-daughter relationship in this film? Like it like doesn't make any sense.
Well, yeah. Like is this the scene where he telephone speed dates in front of her?
But I'm just teeing it up because their relationship is sort of, it's one of the centers of the film, right? And I think that it's supposed to be relatable and human in a way that makes sense. And like, I don't know, is it? Like,
no, I feel like there's a quirkiness to the tone that is not like it's not rooted in reality. And I think that carries through to this relationship between Joy and Rudy.
Yeah, see, I kind of think you might be right, but then there's some stuff that isn't like that for me. Let's come back around to it at the end. So anyway, I agree with you though, especially in this scene. Like it does seem right. Like when he first moves back in, that's like very quirky. When he's doing the telephone speed dating thing that's about to happen, that's very quirky. Like it is like it's all like a little silly. So she goes. He runs a shop, like I said. They seem to have a very strong, father-daughter relationship. And he helps her out with some financial assistance. He helps her to pay the mortgage for her house, and she does his accounting for his business. She kind of works as like an off-the-books bookkeeper. So to your point, he calls the 900 dating service, and he says one of like my 3 or 4 favorite Robert De Niro lines in this film. He says, he says, you know me, I have to fall in love. If I don't fall in love, I'm not interested. And he just like looks straight at her and like says that like straight. And it's like, oh, this guy is such a weirdo. Like very, very strange man. He and Jennifer Lawrence are both, they're both exceptional in their roles. It's not the acting that.
No, that's not the problem here.
That makes this fall flat for me. Yep. So he makes a date with this lady named Trudy. And I just wrote, he has a great personality, and when he's going on the date, he's all dolled up and he looks awesome. Just like first comment here about this film, like stuff that I do love about it, the costumes in this movie fucking rule. Like,
I also noticed that.
Incredible costume design, especially later, like every suit Bradley Cooper wears, like he just looks so cool. Like every outfit is like amazing. He's got like the like really handsome stubble. Like it's like, oh, everybody in this movie looks great, and like everything they're wearing is great, and like it's a really fun movie to look at. It's really it's really nice. Yeah.
I mean, Bradley Cooper, the maestro himself, Philip's favorite character in film.
Yep. Philip, if you're listening to the pod, why don't you write in and tell us what your favorite thing about Maestro starring Bradley Cooper is?
That's Philip's recommendation this week.
Yeah. It is near the bottom of my my Oscar list that year, though. It was a very strong year. Joy's got a lot of housework to do, right? Her mom put something in the sink that should have been flushed down the toilet, and it causes a backup and a leak. I really enjoyed the scene. I love plumbing in movies. She just like opens the floorboard to like get to the pipe that's leaking and just like touches it with a wrench, and it makes the leak stop. And I'm like, listen, like I am like the world's least handy person, but I'm pretty sure that you couldn't just open any floorboard and find any portion of a pipe and find some way that you could touch it with a wrench that would make a leak stop. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm not a plumber, but I'm sure it's...
Well, how would you know? How would you even know? Those are the tools of the trade. Those are like the secrets that you don't learn until trade school.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm just like
bonk the pipe. That fixes it 90% of the time.
I'm just like applying like a general heuristic that I have, which is that things are usually more, not less complicated than you would expect them to be. You agree with me about that? You think that's generally like
Yeah,
like
I
a
agree with
truism
you.
about the
Yeah.
world? Yeah. So it's like, yeah, I guess maybe, but like it doesn't seem very likely given that I don't know anything about it. And I wrote here, this is when we meet Joy's sister. What's her name?
Whoa.
I don't know if I ever wrote it down. Peggy.
Peggy, that's
we
right.
Meet, we meet Joy's sister. They have
I
a really
watched
strained
this-
relationship.
I watched this 2 nights ago, and I forgot she had a sister.
Yeah. Well, just one of the most important characters in the movie. What do you mean?
You know, I remember
top
her now.
five for
I
sure.
remember her now, okay?
So they got a strained relationship. She's actually her half sister. Joey falls asleep on her mom's bed, and she has these strange dreams about these soap operas that her mom is watching, and they seem like they're like maybe about like the death of her innocence or like her promise or something. Like she's like going to like her own funeral in these dreams. Who cares? Doesn't really matter.
This is kind of where it started to lose me. FYI.
Okay, it wasn't losing me yet.
It felt a little like listen. You didn't mention it at the beginning, but this is a biopic. This is about a real person, very successful inventor, which is fine, whatever. That's all great. But like this movie felt a little up its own ass when it started doing the interpretive dream sequence sort of thing.
Yeah,
and I was like, David O.
didn't
Russell,
want
I don't like you enough to be dealing with this
Yeah.
right now.
I mean, I know that in theory this is a biopic, right? Like to your point, but it didn't even occur to me to mention it because it's extremely fictionalized. Like
Yeah.
I read about her after I watched the movie, and like very little of what's depicted in this film actually happened. So it's like a fictionalization of a real person's life, I think. And like to your point, like
I think it
that
still
kind of
counts as a
stuff,
biopic.
right? Like, yeah, I suppose it still counts as a biopic. Sure, whatever. So to your point, it is a biopic. This lady's real. She actually invented this mop. She actually like became like a big personality, like on Home Shopping Network, and you know I think has like over 100 patents or something. Like she's like a very important person in you know inventing and business and like feminist history. So good for her. You know, great stuff. So we're kind of getting some information about her childhood here, and I cannot remember the way it's exposed in the scene, and so I just want to drop this exposition just so we're on the same page about what's happening. So it's revealed that she had a lot of like promise when she was a child. She's a very smart person. She was valedictorian of her high school class. She made like inventions and a lot of like things like art and like things with her hands when she was a kid. She invented this dog collar that was like a no choke dog collar before that kind of thing was like, you know, relatively ubiquitous. Obviously it is pretty ubiquitous now. And it seems like her parents like really fucked up raising her. And like did not create an environment that would like allow her to thrive as a child with promise.
Yeah.
And actively, it seems like prevented her from flourishing in spite of being a very smart person. So this is like, for me, this is the beginning of it, right? Because like, I'm like, okay, so this is going to be like a family redemption story. Like that's like what's going to happen here. Like it's like seems like her parents like really sucked balls, and like her mom still sucks balls. Like all she does is lay in bed and watch TV all day. But like, you know, it seems like she and her dad really love each other, even though he seems like kind of like a weirdo asshole. But like it seems like he really does love her, and so like that's what this is going to be about. It's going to be about like the family like being good or whatever. And the last thing is that she was valedictorian of her high school class. She got accepted to a good school in Boston, but her parents were getting divorced at the time that she was graduating from high school. And so she decided to stay back to quote unquote help them with the divorce, which like doesn't make any sense. I don't like, again, like truly like horrendous parenting to like let your obviously genius high school valedictorian child not go to college because of something you have going on in your life.
What is she supposed to do?
What's wrong with you?
How is she supposed to help with those proceedings? Stick
Get
around.
out of the way, assholes. Like,
Yeah.
make space for your child to like achieve their promise, not like for them to like.
What do you think is more important? Yeah.
Oh my god, it's like insane. So then we get a visit from her friend Jackie, as another main character in the film. They've been friends since they were a little kid, and they do a flashback sequence to a party when they were younger. And this is when Joy met her now ex-husband Tony. Who's he played by? I can't think of this actor.
Edgar Ramirez.
Edgar Ramirez. I
have a couple of things to say about this. He is good, but I have a couple of things to say. One,
All right,
this
lay it on me, yep.
this is actually where the film started losing me, because pacing wise, I think it really like kind of nosedives here. This is an extended flashback sequence to her
It's like 15
meeting
minutes long. It's so long. Yeah.
And I think I feel like it's pretty unnecessary. Like it's setting up their their relationship and the fact that it's long standing, that they really do care about each other still as friends despite them being divorced, which is fine. But I don't think we needed an extended flashback sequence to like set that up. Second, I cannot see Edgar Ramirez in anything without thinking about the botched 2015 remake of Point Break, in which he played Patrick Swayze's character Bodhi.
You know, that came out like 2 days before this movie, you know.
Oh, did it really?
Yeah,
so
came out the same week.
We watched Point Break 2015 together in theaters.
Should have seen this.
And
would have been a lot better.
I guess that's damning.
Yeah,
with faint
this
praise.
is a lot better than the 2015 Point Break remake.
Yeah,
man.
that was
bad.
That was really bad, and I'll never forget the thing that pissed me off the most about it was there is a line in the trailer that I'm gonna insert right here.
Bodhi, do you have any idea how many people you've killed? How many laws you've broken?
The only law that matters is gravity.
Stop!
And it's that they're at the top of some cliff in like Venezuela or something, and Bodhi says the only law that matters is gravity, and then he just like falls off the cliff.
The only law that matters is gravity.
Stop!
But it wasn't in the movie, and it was like the only funny thing in the entire trailer, and it wasn't in the actual film. Terrible film. Just watch the original Point Break. Yeah.
I really think like that's one of my least favorite films I've ever seen in my life, to be honest. I remember how much I hated it. It was so long, and I was just like so bored in the theater, and it just would not end.
It was kind of like
so bored.
Yeah, it's like the ultimate example of a modern reboot. It kind of reminded me of the RoboCop reboot, in which it sucked all of the fun out of the original, but it didn't replace it with anything interesting. So it's very serious and dour, but it's just boring to watch.
Yeah, I agree. It really blows.
Yeah.
Terrible movie. And like the first Point Break, by the way, let's just say like Catherine Bigelow. What a bang.
One of the greats. I love Catherine Bigelow.
One of the greatest of all time. And like, my God, the original Point Break is such an incredible film. Like
so fun.
Just a fucking
start to finish.
It's so cool. Yeah. What a movie. I love that one. That would be a fun one to go back to. I don't think I've seen it probably since we watched in preparation for seeing the remake.
Wow.
So it's been over 10 years for me. Yeah.
You do.
Yep. Anyway, so we have this flashback, and this flashback's fascinating. So for me, this was when the cracks first started to form, was in this flashback. And the pacing of it is bad. I agree. And, you know, I should mention, because it's germane to something I'm about to say, that it's been established that Rudy and Tony hate each other. Because when Rudy first came to move back to the house, they have to live in the basement together, and they get into like a shouting match, like as soon as Rudy goes downstairs, Robert De Niro. And in the first scene, I was like, well, I mean, you know, I don't know. Like, he seems like a good dad. He seems like he loves his daughter, and like this guy's divorced from his daughter and is still living in her house. So I think you could understand maybe why he'd hate him. But no, it's established in this flashback that he's always hated him, and it doesn't really seem to make any sense, like why he does. So Tony seems like a great guy, and for what it's worth, like they kind of paint a bad picture of him at the beginning of the film, and like he is like, he's not a successful person. Seems like a little bit of a failure to launch, but he seems like a really earnestly caring, like loving and supportive family member to like his kids, and like to J-Law, even though they're divorced, and like to his in-laws, even though they hate him. Like, he seems like a really good guy. But like Rudy always hates him, even at the beginning when he hasn't done anything wrong yet. And at the wedding, when Rudy is getting Joy set up in her wedding dress, he like tries to talk her out of marrying him like 5 minutes before the ceremony starts, when they're like about to walk over there. And I was like, man, that's pretty fucked up. But like then in the next scene, he gives his father of the bride toast and just like shits on the groom like during the toast. And so I'm watching the scene and I'm like, okay, so Rudy sucks. Like, and they established that like so early in the movie that like Robert De Niro's character blows ass. But like, to your point, the tone of the film is like obnoxiously like quirky.
Mm-hmm.
And so like textually he sucks, right? Like if you just read the script, you would be like, no, like this guy blows. Like that's like all we ever know about him in the movie is that he sucks ass. But like it's never treated that way. It's always treated like, oh, he's so like quirky and funny. But it's like, no, I don't know. Like everything we know about this guy is like, man, he's like a really terrible father, and his daughter will succeed, like, yes, with his support, but like in opposition to like the way he raised her and like the kinds of advice that he's given her throughout her adult life. And it's just like, it's very weird. Like,
Right.
I don't know. What did you think about like the character of Rudy and like their relationship in this film?
No, I completely agree with your analysis. I just think it's funny that during that flashback to Joy's wedding, when Rudy's giving his disastrous speech, he like ends it by saying, "Oh, I give him a 50-50 chance." And they hated him for he spoke the truth. I think it's just funny now, like having gone through this cycle at our ages. I think you can kind of tell sometimes when it's not going to work out. But you can't say anything. It's frowned upon. You can't say, listen, I give this 30% odds. 5 years from now, let's check back.
Well, you can say it to me.
Well,
I
sure,
love
that's
saying
true.
stuff like that.
That's true.
Yeah.
It is fun. Yeah, that is a fun thing to say.
It's fun to be cynical, but you don't say it to the people.
No.
Because
You're going to ruin the party that
you're-
way.
You're tipping the scales.
That's true. That's
like
true.
it's like, you're kind of like
You're influencing it.
you're like influencing the outcome. It's like you can't make a forecast to the people about whom you're making the forecast because
Right.
that affects the likelihood of the forecast. Like, it's
Yeah,
like,
you can't
I don't know, if
incept
my
them.
dad, like I'm married. If my dad had come to me like the day that I was getting married and he was like, "Hey, I think Caroline blows and like I don't think you guys are going to make it." I think that would either make it like, depending on the kind of relationship I have with my father and like how obstinate I was, that would either make it a lot more likely that we stayed together or a lot less likely we stayed together, but like it's impossible for it to not have any effect.
That's true.
Like,
Yeah.
It
You'd think about it.
yeah, like you think about it. Like you'd either rebel or
why
you'd
was he
acquiesce.
so?
Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Why did he want to tell me that so badly?
So this all happens in this flashback. It's bizarre. But this establishes, that Joy and Tony had a very whirlwind romance. There's a lot of passion in their marriage, but they're really incompatible. But they're still together, essentially. So we see them get divorced, and then we cut back from the flashback to the current day. Joy is with whatever her name is. What's her friend? Name, I wrote it.
Jackie.
Joy's with Jackie. And it cuts to Rudy on his date with Trudy, and the date is going really, really well. They're just laughing in her car. She's rich. That's it's been sort of implied, and it's a very important thing to the plot of the film. She's very rich. She's a widow, and her dead husband was an extremely successful businessman. He made a lot of money, and so she has a lot of money, and that's a big part of the plot of this film. So the date that Rudy and Trudy are on is going super, super well, and she's like, "Hey, why don't you guys come out onto my sailboat? It's a 55-footer, something a very rich person has. Bring some wine, but make sure it's not red wine because the wood is teak wood, and I'm worried that red wine would stain it." And so we cut in the next scene to them all getting on the boat. And of course, Tony has brought a case of like very fine red wine. And so they're on the boat, they're drinking, and Joy spills the wine and a glass breaks. And so she's mopping up the wine so it won't stain the teak wood. And as she's mopping, she wrings out to the end of the mop with her hands, but there's little shards of wine glass in it. And she cuts her hands open. And so this gives her an idea to invent a self-wringing mop. Another thing happens here that I thought would be important, but ultimately wasn't. There's a lot of these things. Like this is like one of my
Let's
things.
talk about it then.
Yeah, this is like one of my things. Well, no, it will be important, but it's like this is something that I hate about films. I don't know like why this happens, but like when this kind of thing happens, especially in the context of this podcast, because I'm taking notes, which I ordinarily don't do, it really makes it very stark to me. Like when I thought something was going to be important,
Yeah.
the plumber comes to fix the broken pipes, and it's a Haitian guy named Toussaint, and Joy's mother obviously like likes this guy and has a crush on him, and you're like, oh, like this will be important, but like it's really not. Like they do get together and you see him again one more time later in the film, but it's like, why did they like make a point to establish this character? It's like it must have just been cut like on the cutting room floor, right? Like it's just like
They had
a more
to
major character.
They had to make room for the 15-minute long flashback to Joy meeting Edgar Ramirez. So they could have the entirety of their
Fair
first
enough.
date.
You had to have the whole flashback.
And hear him tell her that the only law that matters is gravity before jumping off a cliff.
The only law that matters is gravity.
Yeah, well, it would have been an exciting way for this movie to end, honestly.
Yeah.
So she comes up with her invention for the mop, and it's whatever. So here's the mop, right? This is what it is. And it's so funny, like, seeing this in this film, because it's not something that I think you realize, unless you're like an older person. But like, if you're like the age that you and me are, when I first saw this movie, I was like, holy shit, this invention is that recent. It's so obvious.
Yeah.
So like, here's the mop, right? It's not going to sound special to anybody because this is the only kind of mop anybody listening to this has ever had. Because like, due to its brilliance, it is completely ubiquitous. It is the only kind of mop anybody has anymore. So it's a long, continuous loop of cotton at the end of a plastic, I don't know, whatever, like handle, long plastic handle, and it has kind of like a nest, or like however you describe it, that it pulls into. And when you retract it into the little nesting thing, that applies pressure on the loop, which wrings out the mop. And also the mop head comes off so it can go in the wash. And so apparently, before 1990, when she invented this, you just like had a mop and you had to wring it with your hands.
Your bare hands, yeah.
Like, that's insane.
It's very funny.
That recently... We had like injection mold, like plastic manufacturing decades before, like in the 50s, I think.
Post
World
War II, yeah.
That's used to make these things really became ubiquitous in modern manufacturing. And it's like, man, like, we had 40 years of being able to make these kinds of plastic things before they thought to make this. Like, that's crazy. But there you go. That's just show business, baby. So she invents the thing, and she comes up with the idea for everything that she needs to make it. And so they're trying to figure out who's going to make it for them. And so there's all this drama that comes up, and it's like some of the worst like dialogue via exposition I've honestly ever heard in my life. Do you remember the exact scene I'm talking about?
No.
Like,
tell me.
So they're all sitting in Rudy's shop, and I can't remember, like maybe Trudy or Peggy, like whomever, somebody is explaining like to another character what is happening in the business dealings they're having with this like California manufacturing plant, and like the guy in Texas who's got the ties back to the guy in Hong Kong who has like the patent, and none of it matters, like the like specifics of what they're talking about, but like the way they explain it, because of the fact that it doesn't matter to this level of specificity, and because like no one would ever speak like this, it like sounds absurd. Like it's just a character explaining this like extremely technical situation to another character as though it's like casual conversation or like anybody would fucking care. And it's like no one would care about this level of detail. It's bizarre, but whatever. So essentially there's this thing going on where there's like this guy in Hong Kong who supposedly has an invention that is like similar enough to Joy's invention that they could reasonably have a claim, like against the patent that she's filing. And there's like some guy in Texas who like has a relationship with this guy in Hong Kong. Like he's like representing him. And so the guy in Texas, in order to be willing to allow them to make this, to essentially annul any claim the Hong Kong guy might have on his similar patent, wants them to use this manufacturing plant, this mold injection manufacturing plant in California to make the product. And so they do. So they make the deal. Joy gets the parts. She makes a prototype at home. She's like really feeling herself. And this is where things with the California contractors start to get a little bit sorted. She's just getting a lot of like what she perceives as overbills from the contractor. Like the shop is making mistakes with the things that needs to be made. They're not mistakes due to her giving bad specs or bad instructions or anything. And so like there's trouble in paradise already between her company and this subcontractor whom they've got making their materials. So she goes out, she hits the street. She's trying to get her mop featured in local shops, but nobody's biting. She's in the Kmart parking lot. She's starting to get some traction because she has Jackie there, and Jackie like kind of does this like fake man on the street thing where she like gets Joy to like pretend that she's really interested in the mop, even though she's the one who invited it. But the cops come, and apparently she's been told she's trespassing before, so they kick her away from Kmart and take all of her stuff. We get some great Bruce Springsteen music here. You get the piano from you get the piano from Racing in the Street. Really excited to just call out every time we get a little lick of a Bruce Springsteen song in this this beautiful podcast that we're making here. We're getting a huge new Bruce Springsteen album in a few months.
Are we?
Yeah, he's releasing a box set of like all of his unreleased songs from the late 80s and early 90s. I think it's 7 full CDs long. I'm really excited.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It's going to be great. The track list just came out the other day because the first single from it dropped. And so on Apple Music, you can see the single not as its own single. He didn't release it as an EP. It's just a track of only, one track of the like 150 things that are going to be on this album. It's the only one you can see, but you can see the whole track list. And I was like, man, we're going to be cooking here. Like, we're feasting on some new Bruce Springsteen music this summer.
That's how I feel about Nine Inch Nails doing the soundtrack for the upcoming Tron film in October. I'm going to be there. Opening
exciting. Weekend
in IMAX, baby. That's like the one thing they could do to get me to care about a third Tron film. Incredible.
I'll be there with you. It'll be fun to watch the first two.
Yeah.
So there is trouble in paradise here, right? The bills are piling up. Her phone's turned off. Her electricity's turned off.
She's at a low
getting
point.
Made fun of at school for the trouble that her mom is having with her business. And Tony comes and he's got an idea for how she can make a deal. And so Tony's deal is that he knows some guy who works at QVC. And so at this time, QVC, right? It was like the original TV channel where you could like call and order stuff. It's like it's almost quaint now, right? Because we have like online shopping. But until 2000, it was like kind of insane that you could watch TV and like call and order stuff to be mailed to your house. It was really cool. And so Tony knows somebody from a previous job he's had who works there. And so they go and they're able to get a meeting with Bradley Cooper. His character's name is Neil. I love him in this movie. Like, oh my God, I love Bradley Cooper. It's like such
the maestro at work.
Yeah, he's awesome. You like Bradley Cooper in this movie? He's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think he's good. I think that him and De Niro are both very good in their supporting roles.
Yep. And he does wear just like the coolest suits. Like, oh,
he does.
So good.
Yeah.
He's very enigmatic. Love how enigmatic he is. And they make a deal, but he needs 50,000 units in a week, which is like suggested again as though it's going to be something that happens in the plot. Like, it's like very ominous the way he says, like, can you have 50K units in a week? And Joy's like, yeah, for sure. But like, it seems like really obvious that she's like kind of sweating. And I was like, oh, there'll be drama here, but there isn't. She just delivers.
There sure won't be
units. So he shows her around QVC, and she is totally locked in. She's really excited. So she goes home. She needs more money from Trudy to buy the 50K units. What she needs is $200,000, and Trudy says that she has to put up half that money because Trudy's already like really in the hole here. And so she puts a second mortgage on her house, and that's how she gets the money. And so fast forward a week, they've delivered the units, and now some bald guy who's apparently QVC's quote-unquote biggest seller, is the one who's introducing the mop on TV. And he's got no idea how to use a mop. He seems like a total dipshit, and he does it completely wrong. He like doesn't know how to use this like extremely basic thing that anybody should be able to figure out how to use. And so it's a huge bomb. Nobody buys one. Joy and her family are all sitting there watching the like rollout of the product for the first time on QVC, and it goes incredibly badly. And so like,
it seems almost impossible to fuck it up in the way that the host does. There's only one motion you can do. You can only pull.
He's like, oh, this thing is much more complicated than you think it would be. It's like, dude, I don't know.
Oh, he floundered so hard.
You might want to go get like a brain scan. Like, I'm not really sure. Like, it seems like you might be having like some like serious issues if you can't figure out how to pull like a thing that's nested into another thing. Like, I don't know.
One thing that I noted about Bradley Cooper's character here before the host blows it live on air is while his character, he plays Andy Walker, and while Andy is talking to Joy, like while they're getting to know each other, he accurately predicts both the internet and reality television. And I just thought like that is such like a cutesy bullshit thing to put in here. And I wrote he must be on the limitless pill. He's just like predicting two major like milestones in entertainment,
like human intellectual development, and like the formation of our modern culture. Like, really fun stuff. We're almost to the end of my notes, just so you know.
That's great.
I really started taking less notes here toward the end. We're gonna make really good time.
It's reasonable.
I wrote here, why didn't Bradley Cooper have a lady do this? Really good question.
Wouldn't that make more sense?
Like, it's like not only like, I guess like, theoretically you could think like, well, men mop less than ladies, so they might have trouble like using this thing correctly. But like, even beyond that, isn't your target demo for this women? Like, right. Why would like a woman watching this who is the person whom you want to convince to spend $20 on this? Why would she be like sucked into this by some like old bald dude and not like a glamorous woman like using this thing? Like, wouldn't that be like the thing that would work from a sales perspective? But like, I don't know, whatever. Sure. Here we are. So Bradley Cooper calls her. He's being a huge douchebag about the whole situation. And so she goes to his office and confronts him and says that she wants to be the one who goes on TV. So he says yes. They go. She's getting all dolled up. But she tells Bradley Cooper that she just wants to change one thing about the outfit and goes back into her dressing room and she changes everything about it. She like undoes the hair the way it's been done. She takes off like the like kind of mini skirt top combo that they'd put on her and just puts back on her like normal like slacks and blouse that she wears. And she goes on, and initially she has a little bit of trouble, but Jackie calls with a friendly call and like kind of tease her off to like make her more comfortable, and she absolutely kills it. She sells like all 50,000 units like right there, and over the ensuing weeks keeps going on again and sells hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of more units. So she's a recurring segment on QVC now. They're going gangbusters, but when she goes home, RIP, her grandma died. May she rest in peace. And she was really the only person in her family who like made sense to me and was like a normal person. So it's pretty sad. She just left with like her shitty mom and her shitty dad and her like shitty half sister. Like Peggy really blows. She seems like a total moron. And, like really like kind of violently stupid and like kind of angry about the fact that she's like resentful. So much dumber than her sister. Like she's like resentful of her like much smarter like sister with like a much better attitude.
She got the bad half of the genes.
Yeah.
Or she only got like half of the good genes.
Yeah, I mean apparently the good genes were from her shitty mom. Right? Because like that was the person who was not a part of Peggy's genes was her shitty soap opera watching mom. None of this movie makes any sense. So anyway, grandma's dead. And another crazy scene here. So they're at grandma's funeral, and this was like one of the most important people in Joy's life. But because the family is all here, it just makes sense for this to be the point when Rudy tells Joy something important about the business. But like he never would, like it's like
right.
They're only at this funeral for like probably 30 or 45 minutes. It's like you would just wait at least until after the funeral, but honestly, probably until a different day. Like, I don't think you would choose this day that, like, everyone is, like, mourning the, like, matriarch of the family having died to be like, oh, hey, the business is fucked, by the way. Like, I'm going to share that with you right now. But because it's
very important that we tackle this subject right now.
So
you're already in a pretty bad mood, so let me just give you one more.
Let me just lay this on. Let me double down. So Rudy tells Joy that they're having issues with the supplier in California. They're dickering over pricing. The guy in California wants to increase the amount that they're paying per unit. They really cannot afford to do so, and so Rudy sent Peggy to deal with this. And this is crazy. So this is the moment for me, just so you know. This is where it all falls apart. It's this. Yeah. It's not in this moment, but like this is the turning point. It's this moment in like the next 15 minutes where I'm like, this makes no sense at all. So he sends Peggy, and Joy is really pissed. She doesn't trust Peggy. And so when Peggy comes back, she finds out that not only did Peggy accept the price hike of $2 more per unit, which is like apparently eating into their margins so heavily that they're actually going to start selling at a loss, which she really can't afford to be doing, but also agreed to pay this invoice that was in dispute that Joy felt was unreasonable. And so Peggy like really fucked her in her eyes going over there. So Joy goes out to California to talk to the guys at the plant, and they have a disagreement about what's going on. And so Joy uses going to the bathroom as an opportunity to kind of surreptitiously sneak onto the shop floor and see what's going on. And she finds that they have her designs there. And it was kind of unclear to me legally, like what we're supposed to understand they were doing. But it seemed like maybe they were like in the process of filing like a competing patent that like claimed them as their ideas.
Yeah, I think so.
Like, somehow they're like trying to steal her idea. I'm not sure what the mechanism is from a patent law perspective by which they would do that. But like that's what's supposed to be happening in the story. And so what she finds out when she goes home and talks to her family is that in paying the disputed invoice to the Texas guy when Peggy went out, she essentially forfeited the claims they had to the patent because the way that invoice was structured and justified was essentially as royalties to whomever this Hong Kong guy was who had the overarching patent. And so now Joy no longer owns her product. And so next scene, whole family's together. Peggy, Jackie, Joy's there. Her kid's there for some reason. Tony's there. Rudy's there. Trudy's there. And like they're all pressuring Joy into declaring bankruptcy. And she just like does it and never yells at anybody. And so for me, this was the moment. Like I was like, dude, your dad fucked you. Like Peggy fucked you. Like he sent your half sister who you hate, who hates you, who's obviously a total moron, who you don't trust, and like allowed her to be a representative for your like fledgling, but like on the track to a lot of success company. And she went out and destroyed your company.
Yeah.
Like, wouldn't you be angry? But like she like doesn't even yell at anybody, and like she just signs the divorce paperwork. And also Rudy gives this like despicable speech in this scene where I was like, what are we supposed to think about this guy and like what kind of father he is? And like I think you're right that it's like just supposed to be quirky, but it like isn't funny. He gives the speech and he's like, oh yeah, like I'm a terrible father because I told my daughter that she should believe in herself and I should.
Right. He's like, yeah, you shouldn't have believed in yourself. You weren't going to succeed.
Like, what are you talking about? She was valedictorian of her high school class. Maybe if you had like ever supported her at all, she would have had an easier time succeeding. She probably would have been a great success if she'd been able to go to college and like network and like learn more and like have the experiences you have. But her entire life has been stifled by her like terrible parents. And like, bro, telling her to believe in herself is actually like the only vaguely normal thing you've done for this woman as her father. Like you're like the worst father on planet Earth. It's bizarre. And like to your point, like I think we are supposed to find it funny, but like I don't really find it funny. Because like it's just the tone is quirky, but like if you read it, it doesn't read as quirky. It just reads as like kind of like emotionally abusive parenting. Like it's like bizarre. So this is the moment for me. Like it was in this scene, I was like, oh, this is why I hated it when I first saw it. Like I remember this is stupid. It doesn't make any sense. So she signs the bankruptcy papers, and they all really suck. And so she goes to Texas. And she meets up with this Markham guy who's the Texas rep for the Hong Kong guy. And she's done some sleuthing. And it turns out everything he was doing was fraud. The Hong Kong guy whom he supposedly represents doesn't actually have a patent that is meaningfully similar to Joy's patent. Didn't even know that any of this was happening. Like there was a lot of like, you know, grift going on behind the scenes here.
Yeah.
And so Joy essentially tells him like, hey, I got my attorneys engaged. They want to sue you for fraud. But I told them to hold off because she plays this really cool. I really love the scene because like I told them I thought maybe you'd made a mistake that you would be willing to rectify if I told you about it. So she like blackmails the shit out of him, cold as ice, and gets him to pay her back the money that Peggy paid against her wishes, another $50,000, and then interest on the money that was given. So she gets a pretty sweetheart deal. Plus she has the intellectual or the rights to her IP back in this exchange. She becomes huge. She becomes like a benefactor for like other fledgling inventors. She and Bradley Cooper stay friends, but they eventually do become business adversaries, which is kind of fun because he'd referenced maybe that happening earlier in the film. Another like crazy thing here in this final scene as it kind of winds down is it reveals that Rudy and Peggy sued Joy for control of the company after like the kind of end of the film, and they're like still close or whatever. And I'm like what is going on here? Like, what is this supposed to be funny? Like, what is up with the tone of this? Like this story, like the way that these familial relationships are like explained and conveyed makes no sense. Like, oh, it's so stupid. And there you go. That's David O. Russell's 2015 film Joy.
And what a film it was.
And what a film it was. Want to share your thoughts?
Oh, sure. Yeah, if we're starting with me. Final ratings.
I feel like we've already kind of got what I think here. Like I'll sum it up, but like I feel like in so doing, I've kind of laid out my case on this film.
I agree with you pretty wholeheartedly on this film. I'd never seen it before. It's not a subject that I'm particularly interested in. And I mean, listen, I think you can make a biopic about anyone interesting.
Sure.
I agree. I don't know if David O. Russell really rises to the occasion here, but my favorite part of this film was, and we kind of glossed right over it because there wasn't much to say about it, but it was the sequence where Joy, comes up with the idea for the Miracle Mop and starts, drawing and ideating and just tweaking it. And that whole sequence of the actual invention of the first mop, I thought was pretty fun. Like that's, I think, kind of why you want to see this sort of movie about an inventor. Unfortunately, tonally, it didn't work for me. And the pacing I thought was very inconsistent. So yeah, it's trying to be quirky. It's kind of comically exaggerated. to your point, I think some of these characters were really not sympathetic in a way that I think the film wanted them to be.
Wants them to be, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And so I thought there was kind of a tonal mismatch there. Also, this is a secondary kind of complaint, but I didn't realize, I felt a little bamboozled because I realized, partway through the film, it takes place during winter and it has a very like cold, harsh lighting scheme to it. It's a Christmas film because some of the action takes place right around Christmas. And I hate watching Christmas films outside of like December. I don't even want to think about Christmas this time of year, but it is what it is.
I want to think about Christmas 365 days a year. That's different.
You're one of those. You're one of those people. What's the point? It's so far away.
I love how you say that as though you don't know.
Listen, man, I have to play it up for the pod. I know you're a sicko. You listen to Christmas music like starting in November 1st, right?
Oh yeah.
That's freak shit. So yeah, I didn't love the film, but when it comes to my rating, I'm gonna give it 2.5 out of 5 because I did enjoy watching it more than last week's film, Marvin's Room, and I gave that 2.5. So I feel like I have to at least match them. What did you think of watching this film a second time?
Yeah. So I'm gonna go with 2.5 myself, which is what I gave it the first time. And I think I basically already gave my thoughts, right? But I'll sum them up now. I think it's fun, right? To your point, like you described your favorite section, being the kind of inventing montage. There's a lot of things like this in this film. It's a fun movie. It's well shot. It looks really nice. The costumes are really fun. The performances are generally extremely compelling. There are some characters who are compelling. Like I really enjoy Joy and Tony. I think they're great. Grandma's fun. The little girl's cute. Her daughter, like there's some good stuff in there, but it's not enough to just lift it out of like how terrible the pacing is, how many instances there are of like red herrings being introduced from a plot perspective that like clearly they just cut and post because it was probably like 3 hours long before they started editing. And I think like, yeah, I can't remember if I said this already, but like tonally, it doesn't make any sense to me, right? Like these characters are like despicable, but they want to like act like it's like really quirky and fun. And like, I don't know, maybe I'm just like too self-serious a person, but it doesn't work for me. Like, I feel like there is a maximum allowable distance when you're trying to do a quirky film between like how quirky it is and how heavy the subject matter is, that it's like trying to like turn quirky, and like the gap is in excess of that allowable distance in this film. It does not work.
I did think to myself during this film at one point, I thought, David O. Russell, you are not Wes Anderson. He could pull that off. He's like the one. He's like the exception that proves the rule. David O. Russell cannot.
Yeah, and that's a really good point, right? Like, because you know what, you're right. Like, Royal Tenenbaum is like pretty despicable, right, as a character, but like it does work in the Royal Tenenbaums. Like, you still see his humanity, and I don't know if that is stylistic about Wes Anderson. I think it's a quality of the writing. Like, I think that the way that the character of Royal Tenenbaum is written as a terrible father, you're still able to see his humanity, and you can see what it is in him that makes him so terrible. Like, they like let you in on that when they explore his character. And like, yeah, like Rudy is also like a really bad father, but we don't see him tortured or like or anything. It just like, it seems like he's having a great fucking time for the whole movie. And like, he sucks. Like, so yeah, like, point taken. Like, yeah, you're right. Like, there are Wes Anderson films about these kinds of things that work at being quirky, but I think the writing has to find a way to bridge that distance, which did not happen here. And I don't know. So this was one of those classic films where it was like 3.5 star for me for like the first like hour and 15 or hour and 20 minutes.
Oh, interesting.
And then it fell down. Like, oh no, I was thinking about it too. I was like, oh, this is solid 3.5 stars. Like, if the ending's good, I could even climb up to 4. And then like we get to like that last part, and like it collapses under the weight of the like tonal mismatch, like how bad the pacing has been. And then the last 40 minutes are like a 1.5 star for me. And so I gotta come down. I was right when I saw it the first time, 2.5 stars, and you were right.
Never doubt yourself.
It's right. Yep. I really was. I was doubting myself. I was like, man, like, was I drunk when I watched this? Like, I'm actually really enjoying this. Why is this what I remember? And turns out I was right.
Then it all becomes clear.
Yeah. So there you go. That's Joy. Do we have any mail this week?
Yeah, we do, but recommendations.
Perfect. I know we got to do our recommendations. Would you like to go first, or would you like me to go first?
I can go first. I'm going to be quick about this. Yeah. I'm recommending David O. Russell's feature film debut, the 1999 film Three Kings. You ever watch this film?
I've never seen it. I said it earlier in the podcast.
Oh, yeah. Well, okay, that was a long time ago, and I wasn't paying close attention. So this film, I watched it for the first time either 1 or 2 years ago. It is a pretty sharp critique of the Gulf War. It stars George Clooney, Mark Wahlberg, and Ice Cube, and Spike Jonze is in a supporting role, which is interesting. But I liked it quite a bit, didn't love it. I had some issues with it, but I thought it was a really incisive critique of the war. The performances were great, very funny film, great performances out of all of the leads. Good Mark Wahlberg performance. I think he's used well in his role as a soldier. And I thought the cinematography was fantastic. It was filmed in a very just kinetic sort of way, used a lot of inventive angles and stuff like that. And so I had a fun time watching it. Unlike Joy, which kind of just washed over me and then I forgot about afterwards. What about you? What do you recommend?
Well, I've added Three Kings to my watch list. It sounds wonderful. Thank you for telling me and our listeners about it. For my recommendation, I would like to recommend David O. Russell's 2004 film, I Heart Huckabees.
Oh, there you go.
Which is the movie that I think about when I say out loud, I like David O. Russell. But it just turns out I've liked one of his movies that I've seen. I probably would like this Three Kings one based on the way you described it. For me, so we talked about the contrast, right, between Royal Tenenbaums and Joy, which I think are telling, similar stories about failed promise due to bad parenting, right? But one is an unqualified masterpiece, one of the greatest movies I've ever seen in my life, and one is this movie that we just watched, and where's the distance? It can't just be the quality of Gene Hackman's performance because Robert De Niro is also an incredible actor. It has to come down to the writing and the directing that makes that gap happen. And I think that I Heart Huckabees is doing the exact same thing tonally that Joy is trying to do. But the reason why it works better in I Heart Huckabees is because it's absurdist, right? And I think Joy is also supposed to be absurdist. That's where a lot of tonal quirkiness comes from. But for me, what are the best works of absurdism, right? I don't know, probably Catch-22. Is the greatest, the best that's ever been done, right? Joseph Heller, nobody hit it like him. And I think that what works so well about really good absurdism like that is where it chooses to sketch things thinly and where it chooses to sketch them richly. And I think that where Joy falls down a lot is there are things that are sketched a little bit too richly in how horrible and upsetting they would be if you experienced them in real life to work, to not form tension with the tone. And I Heart Huckabees works really well because it nails that. Very little is sketched really richly. Most of the plot is thin. Most of the characters are thin. And so we understand them as emotional creatures, and we understand the absurdity of what they're experiencing, right? Serious material and psychic impacts to their lives that are causing them to have an existential reckoning and to experience this crumbling of the way they see the world and everything they experience. And it works in I Heart Huckabees because that's what it makes it about. It's about the big questions and the absurdity of trying to think about what the meaning of your life is. It's so insane. We're just genetically the same as dogs, but we walk around and we're oh, what does this all mean? Who is God? And why am I living my life? And that's really funny, it's crazy that that's the way we see the world. But it works because it has a good tension, the absurdity of that, with the fact that we all know in our souls that is the right way to live, even though if you observe it on its face, it is absurd that we take our lives so seriously. We're just bags of flesh, with chemicals and electricity coursing through us, making us think that we have feelings and consciousness and stuff, and all that stuff is just an illusion. And Dustin Hoffman's in it. He's fucking incredible. Mark Wahlberg's in it. It sounds, based on your description of Three Kings, like he plays a pretty similar character in I Heart Huckabees, and it is an incredibly compelling performance. He is hilarious as this like tortured firefighter who's like trying to understand like how his life can have any meaning when he's involved with like so many terrible things. And it's just like, it's incredibly like heartfelt, like affecting performance, but also very funny. And Jason Schwartzman's in it. It was one of his first like kind of bigger roles before he ended up getting really big with Wes Anderson and kind of the subsequent Wes Anderson films. He's really good. But like, oh my God, Jude Law's in it, and it is my favorite Jude Law performance of all time. Like, it's just like,
really?
I don't even know what to say. It's incredible. It's an incredible performance. He's so amazing. He plays like kind of the foil to the philosophical consideration that our heroes are doing. He's like ostensibly the villain of the film because he's like some one-dimensional like corporate executive who like never thinks about what anything means, but like he too experiences the like earth-shaking psychic and material impacts to his life to have like that kind of crisis. And just like the way that Jude Law plays it is incredible. Like, it's so funny, but like he's so tortured. It's such an incredibly emotional and compelling performance. It's I don't know, I Heart Huckabees is a special movie. I don't know if it's like a masterpiece or anything, but I do love it, and it's about 5 fucking times better than Joy. So
listen,
watch that one.
You sold me on it. I haven't seen it since college. I don't remember it at all, but it's just, it moved way up my list to rewatch. So
I'm excited to watch Three Kings. Sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Yep.
There you go. Instead of Joy, watch
Yep.
a couple of David O. Russell's other films.
He does have a fun style, right? Like, it's like, I do enjoy the way it's shot. He's a good director.
It
Just
works
like,
sometimes.
yeah.
Okay, so now we have a letter from friend of the pod, Andrew. He writes, this is about the Meet the Parents episode. He said, enjoyed the episode. I'll have to revisit this movie since I thought it was a classic comedy staple, but it sounds more like a product of its time. With the transcendent success of new movies such as Snow White and The Alto Knights, do you think there is the potential for a theater-going renaissance? Or will movie theaters have to do more to attract customers? Signed, Andrew, last name withheld. What do you think about that?
I don't know. I mean, we're going into a recession, right? So no.
Well, sure.
I don't think so. I don't know. I think that like maybe I could have, like, if we talked about this a few weeks ago, I could have thought like maybe we could pivot toward that, as inflation got under control and, the economy continued to just slowly improve. And it does seem like people have been going to the theater a little bit more for like maybe the past 6 months than they were leading up to the pandemic, and especially in the years past the pandemic. But like, no, I don't know, like soup stocks and Netflix stocks are going up, like people aren't going to go to the movies if consumer confidence is down. And I think that's the death blow, honestly. Like, I think like it was going to come back now, or it's never going to come back, because people are just going to become more and more cloistered, less and less interested in going out. That's just like the way the culture is shifting, and the experience of watching things at home is going to continue to become better and better. So like, I don't know. How can they possibly make it work? What do you think about this?
Yeah, I mean, I guess inflation considerations aside, the first thing that came to my mind, this is something I thought about before. I think, and I've read that I guess theater chains have been having discussions about this with some of the big studios. I think they need to make the theatrical window longer. I think that,
good point. Yep.
Like post-COVID, there is this big push from every, film company, because they all have their own streaming service or whatever, like Disney Plus or whatever, to reduce that, theatrical, that theater exclusivity window. And so they just trained everyone to just like, why go to the theater when I could just wait, a month and a half or 2 months and see this
Even
film.
at the jacked up price, it's $20, right, which is enough for 1.5 people to go to the movies. So like, unless you're going alone, it's going to be cheaper to watch it at home.
Right. I think we need, but what has been the benefit of that? Because if these companies aren't making money, they're all still losing money except for Netflix. And it's killing it's all commodified, and it's killing the theaters. So who is this benefiting? And you're like you have one of the relatively great home theater setup. So sure, it does make sense for someone like you to just stay home and watch a movie on your nice HDR OLED panel with a good sound system. Great, but I just feel like the average person is going to have some
They're
like
watching on a
47-inch
55-inch
TCL
LCD.
Amazon Fire
Yeah.
TV. Yeah, they got for like $3.99 whatever on
it's fine,
Amazon Prime Day.
but-
right. But it's like it's not a good experience, and I think there is something to be gained for a lot of people to have that theatrical experience. I think it is kind of special, but we've just like totally nuked that desire because we just wait a couple of months and just watch it at home, on Hulu on your piece of shit TV with your $50 sound bar or whatever, and it's just like it's not the same. That you turn the subtitles on and then like just second screen while you're like on TikTok the entire time and then not retaining any information from the show. And so I mean, I like the theater experience. I think that I do. Bring it back. Let's go back to the 90s.
From completely different angles, but I'm with you on this.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, there are some things that are out of these companies' control, but I think that is something that they should really consider doing. We don't. It's not like COVID times. We're not as concerned about catching airborne illnesses. Give us a reason to go to the theater.
I love going to the movie theater. If it's IMAX, because seeing things in IMAX is what makes me feel like I am getting like a significant margin over watching the film at home. But like to your point, for most people, the regular movie screen is that. Like they don't have a giant, like really good TV and like a nice sound system.
Right.
So like, I don't know, like it is awesome to go to the movies. Like when it's something you really want to see and it's like that much better than it would be at home. You want people to enjoy that. It really
feels
cool.
like an event.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you for the letter, Andrew.
Thank you, Andrew. Great letter. Love it. Yep.
Nailed it. And now it is time to roll our next film. It's my turn.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Yeah, Mike's excited. I always approach this with some trepidation, but it is an exciting part of the week. So
I hope that we roll David O. Russell's 2013 film, Silver Linings Playbook.
That would be really funny. That'd be really funny. No, I hope we roll the David O. Russell film Amsterdam. No, I actually just hope we roll something that I'm excited to watch, because we've had a couple in a row now where I just haven't really cared too strongly.
Hasn't really been hitting for you. Yep.
Hasn't really been hitting for me, but here we go. I'm about to roll. Are you ready?
I'm ready, baby.
All right. And I rolled 54.
Interesting number.
Oh my goodness. This is big. I am going to tell you why this is so big. This is not a drill, guys. We got 2000's The Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle. Do you know why this is so big? You ever see this movie?
Is that the live action one?
It's like I think it's like a hybrid live action.
I've never
animation.
seen it. Yep.
I don't think I've seen it either, but let me tell you, a friend of the pod, one of my MSW classmates, Zoe, has been giving me a lot of shit about the podcast, telling me that she really wants us to review two films, Shark Tale and Rocky and Bullwinkle. And I keep telling her that we will not compromise the role, that we'll get to them when we get to them.
Finally happening.
So there we go. We're actually getting one of them. I get to recap The Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle.
This movie doesn't sound good, but it does sound awesome.
I hope it's interesting. I'll take
it's
interesting.
got Jason Alexander in it.
Oh, love him.
Kenan Thompson's in it. It was made
Hot off
by
of his
Robert
Good
De
Burger
Niro's,
success.
Production company.
Oh, that's great.
And the music is by Mark Mothersbaugh.
Devo,
of
baby.
Devo fame.
Whip it good.
Yeah.
He is one of my absolute favorite film composers. Speaking of the Royal Tenenbaums, like,
Oh, yeah.
what a score. You know, I mean,
He's
the
a great
guy,
composer.
the guy can't miss. He's incredible. So that'll be fun. I'm looking forward to watching this. It's going to be a good one. Even if
That
it's not
will be
good.
fun.
It's going to be an enjoyable watch.
Probably won't be, but I am excited. So that's great. Want to wrap this up?
Sure. So this was a great episode, Mike. I'm so happy that we were able to be here together.
I
I'd
agree.
like to I'd like to say some thanks. So I'd like to say again, thank you, Andrew, for writing into us, and thank you to all of you, our listeners. De Niro Nation grows week in and week out. I'd
true.
like to thank my wife Caroline, aka Bad Cree, for our beautiful podcast art, and I'd like to encourage all of you to follow / subscribe and rate our podcast on whatever podcast platform you use to listen.
Yeah, that'd be great.
please feel free to follow Mike and I on Letterboxd. We got our first Letterboxd follower for the podcast this week, by the way, which is super exciting. I'm really pumped about that. So I hope more of you will follow us and follow along as we go through this torture for the next 2 years. His username is Mike Back at You, and mine is Mike the Fab. And I would also encourage you, loyal listener, to write a letter to us. We would love to read it on air. The email address is ourherodeniro@gmail.com. Just remember, live show rules. Give us something to talk about. It's not a soapbox for you to get to be on the podcast for 90 seconds while we read your letter. But we're pretty permissive, I think. So I don't want people to feel like this is too draconian. You could soapbox for 45 or 60 seconds and ask us a question, and we'd probably just ignore it. You just gotta just put in a little extra effort and think of a question, and we'll be happy with your letter. Great discussion. That was David O. Russell's Joy. I'm Mike.
Yeah, and I'm Mike, and I have to say, hey, good job. You nailed it. You hit everything you were supposed to hit in the closing.
I was really careful this time. I did it all. Thanks for joining us this week, everybody, and we will see you next week for the adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Big episode.